I never imagined I would find myself late at night in a legal office signing papers meant to shield me from my own child, yet that is exactly where I was, my fingers trembling as ink met paper while my daughter slept quietly down the hall, unaware that I had uncovered everything. My name is Edward Collins. I am 68 years old and I have lived in Portland, Oregon for more than 40 years. My wife Margaret died 4 years ago after a long fight with cancer. The months leading up to her death hollowed me out. We were married for 43 years and watching her disappear day by day broke something deep inside me. Through it all, our daughter Lily stayed close, sitting by her mother's bed holding her hand until the end and afterward holding mine. I believed then that no matter what we would always be there for each other. After Margaret passed, I focused on caring for the house, a craftsman-style place in the Selwood neighborhood we bought back in the late 80s for what feels like nothing compared to now. The area changed over time and the house was worth nearly $2 million. The mortgage had been paid off long ago and every room carried memories of raising Lily, family dinners, laughter and quiet evenings. I am a retired structural engineer. I spent my career designing public works across Oregon. My pension combined with Social Security and investments kept me comfortable. I never worried about money and I never wanted to depend on anyone. Lily moved to Chicago after college where she met her husband Andrew Moore at some corporate networking event. He was smooth, talkative and hard to pin down professionally. Lily worked in medical device sales and I always suspected she carried most of the financial weight. They had 2 children, Noah who was 9 and Grace who was 7. I loved those kids deeply, even if I only saw them once a year. Video calls helped but they never replaced being together. Last fall Lily called me on a weeknight while I was cooking dinner and asked how I was holding up. She sounded hesitant, then told me she and Andrew were thinking of moving back because the city was expensive and Andrew could work remotely. She said they worried about me being alone and my heart lifted at the thought of having family close again. She asked if they could stay with me temporarily while they got settled and maybe do some renovations to make space for the kids and Andrew's home office. I hesitated because one of the rooms had been Margaret's reading room, but I agreed for the grandchildren's sake. They arrived just after Thanksgiving and I spent weeks preparing, buying beds, clearing closets, trying to make everything perfect. When the kids ran up and hugged me, I felt something inside heal. Those first weeks were wonderful. Outings around the city, breakfasts made from Margaret's old recipes, laughter in the house again. Andrew was polite if distant, always on his phone but friendly enough. Then small things began to change. Andrew insisted my internet needed upgrading and offered to handle it, then suggested setting up online banking since I still preferred going to the branch. He walked me through everything patiently and I appreciated the help. A couple of weeks later he brought up renovation costs, nearly $50,000, saying it was an investment in the house. I hesitated and that night Lily spoke to me privately saying they could not contribute much right now but would pay me back once things improved. Something about her tone unsettled me but I pushed the feeling aside and transferred the money. By Christmas contractors filled the house with noise and dust and I spent more time alone in my room or walking the neighborhood. One evening while looking for old photo albums I found a folder tucked behind furniture containing financial documents I did not recognize, including bank statements showing large transfers labeled as living expenses sent to accounts under Lily's married name. My hands shook as I realized she had access to my account, something I never knowingly approved. I remembered Andrew setting up the online banking and a cold feeling settled in my stomach. Over the next days I paid closer attention. Andrew's work explanations were vague. Lily was often out with no clear updates. One night I overheard them through the vents discussing power of attorney. Andrew pressed Lily, saying once they had it they could move forward, mentioning the house value and suggesting a care facility for me, saying I had lived a full life and they needed security for the children. In that moment I understood the truth and that realization led me to that midnight meeting with a lawyer, preparing to protect what was left of my independence before confronting my daughter, because sometimes the hardest lesson comes when love and self-preservation collide and you learn that trust without boundaries can quietly destroy you. Think about their future. I felt my lungs lock up and had to brace myself against the hallway wall because the truth hit all at once. My own child was planning to strip me of my home and place me into some managed facility like an inconvenient asset to be relocated. I sat alone in the dark for hours that night, the absence of my wife Eleanor pressing down on me heavier than ever. She would have known exactly what to do. She would have stepped in without hesitation, but she was gone and I was left alone with this quiet, calculated betrayal. The next morning I called my longtime financial advisor Linda Chen, someone I had worked with for nearly 2 decades who helped Eleanor and me prepare for retirement. Linda, I need to see you today. It can't wait. We met at a small CAF in the West End far from my house. She took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. I laid the bank statements out on the table and told her what I had overheard. The color drained from her face as I spoke. This is Elder Financial abuse, she said softly, and when it comes from family it's often the most destructive. She immediately gave me the contact of an attorney, Michael Harrington, who specialized in estate protection and senior law. You need legal protection immediately, she said, and when I doubted myself, wondering if I was imagining things, she looked me straight in the eye and said, your access was compromised. Large sums were moved without authorization and they were discussing power of attorney and selling your home. You are not overreacting, you are responding just in time. I met Michael the following afternoon, sharp, professional, no wasted words. He listened carefully, asked pointed questions, and then laid it out plainly. Your child likely gained access when online banking was set up. It happens easily, and once power of attorney is in place, control shifts fast, especially if they can convince a doctor you are declining. Once you are placed into a facility, reversing that is extremely difficult. We have to move. Now first we remove all access and reset everything. Second, we move your assets into a trust with you as controller and me as contingency. Even with power of attorney they won't be able to touch anything. Third, we document everything. I asked how long. He said he could have it done by the next evening, including transferring the property deed with an after-hours notary. Then he paused and warned me, when they realize what you've done they may walk away. You could lose contact with your grandchildren. I thought about Sophie and Ben, about the years I spent being a father, and about what Eleanor would have told me to do, and I said I have to protect myself no matter the cost. The next 2 days passed in a blur. The bank froze and reviewed the account once I used the words elder abuse. Michael worked through the night drafting documents, and just before midnight on December 29th I signed everything in his downtown office while the city outside prepared for the New Year lights. Glowing streets empty by 11:43 the final stamp was placed. My house, my savings, everything now sat inside the Daniel Harris Family Trust, fully under my control, legally sealed off. I drove home numb, walked into a silent house, looked at the renovations they had pushed through and felt nothing but resolve. The next morning I made coffee and waited. When my daughter came downstairs I asked her to sit. Her husband followed moments later, already guarded. I laid the statements out and told them I knew about the money, the plan, the facility, the house value, the lies. Her face collapsed. He tried to interrupt, but I stopped him calmly. I told them access was removed, the trust established, and nothing remained for them to see. She cried, said they were desperate, unemployed, drowning. I told her desperation does not excuse betrayal. Her husband lashed out, accused me of ingratitude, and I answered simply, you didn't come to help, you came to harvest. Then I showed them the accounting, $74,000 taken, including what I approved and what I did not, and I gave them a choice: repayment and departure or police involvement. They said they couldn't afford it, and I told them they had until 6 that evening to decide, because for the first time since Eleanor died I finally chose myself. And I told them I had already spoken with a child welfare caseworker about placing the kids into temporary protective oversight until they could prove stable housing, because I would not allow my grandchildren to be used as emotional leverage. That landed on my daughter like a punch. She stared at me stunned and whispered, you wouldn't really do that? Her husband didn't hesitate. He grabbed her arm and said, we're done here, let's go. They started packing immediately, and by 4 that afternoon they were loading the same rental truck they had arrived in barely 6 weeks earlier. I watched from the front window as the children stood confused, asking questions I couldn't hear. My daughter never once turned back to look at the house. When they drove away, the quiet that followed felt unreal, like the air itself had been pulled out. That was 3 weeks ago. She signed the repayment agreement before leaving, though I don't expect to ever see that money. Word is they're staying in a cheap roadside motel outside Salem. A former co-worker recognized them. Her husband took a job answering phones and she picked up retail shifts. Eve had time since then to sit with everything, and the grief comes in heavy waves. Some days it feels like I lost my child, other days I wonder if I lost her long before this and simply refuse to see it. The hardest part is knowing I may never have a relationship with my grandchildren again. That pain never fully leaves, it just settles into a constant ache. But I still have my home, I still wake up in my own bed, I still control my life. I am not locked away, medicated and managed while someone else spends what I earned. Last week I began volunteering with a local senior advocacy group. The attorney connected me with them, and I now speak at small workshops warning other older adults about how financial abuse actually begins quietly. Someone offering help with technology, sudden interest in your money, casual talk about downsizing or how things would be easier if they handled it. I tell them it is okay to protect yourself, even from people you love, especially from people you love, because that is where the risk is highest. A man in his 70s approached me after a session recently, tears in his eyes, and said his son had been pushing him to add him to his accounts and he thought he was imagining things until he heard my story. That moment made every bit of pain worth it. I have learned some hard truths. Family is not automatically safe. Love does not guarantee good intentions. And money changes people. Desperation makes people justify things they never thought they were capable of. Here is what I wish I had known earlier. Never allow anyone to rush you into financial decisions if it feels uncomfortable. That instinct matters. Keep control of your accounts. Do not hand access to anyone without full understanding and legal advice. The moment I let someone else manage my online banking, I gave them an opening. Learn the legal protections available. Trusts. Proper estate planning. Advance directives. These are not just for the wealthy. Document everything: statements, notes, dates, conversations, evidence matters, and build a support system outside your family. Objective: professionals saved me because they could see clearly what I could not. If you are experiencing this, understand it is not your fault. Shame nearly crushed me, but abusers rely on trust and love. That is not weakness, that is humanity. I am still here in the house, filled with memories of my wife, of raising my daughter, of a full life. Some mornings I forget and think about calling her, and then reality returns. But I am safe, I am independent, and I am using what happened to help others. If you recognize any of these signs in your own life, please talk to someone. There are resources and support available, and you are not alone. And if you are someone thinking about exploiting an older family member, understand you are not just taking money, you are stealing dignity, security, and peace. And one day you will be old too. What you choose now shapes how the world will treat you. Then I don't know if my daughter will ever reach out again. Part of me hopes she will and that we can find a way forward, but I am no longer waiting. My grandchildren will hear some version of this story one day, and I hope they seek me out and hear mine and understand that I loved them enough to protect myself and loved their mother enough to give her a choice even when she did not deserve it. To my wife, wherever you are, I hope I did right. I protected what we built, and I am still standing. That is all any of us can do. Keep standing, keep protecting ourselves, and keep hoping the people we love may one day find their way back. And until then, I am okay. And if you are in a situation like this, you can be okay too. Trust yourself, protect yourself, and never let anyone tell you that your safety and independence are less important than keeping the peace.